Hello, class. This is my audience, my little brother. Have you ever felt like you didn't belong? Have you felt like you were an outcast of sorts, or the odd one out? Well, you're not alone. It's safe to say that a majority of people, more specifically high schoolers, have felt that way before. And isn't it a school's duty to make sure students feel more wanted and welcome? Then why has esports been ignored by the school board for so long? Let's face it, video games have been and are a huge part of society now, and it needs to be included as an extracurricular in our high schools. Implementing esports as an extracurricular will not only help students feel they have a place to belong to, but also gives a student a path towards life in that field. I've long thought about why my high school didn't have an esports team, and even went on to help a club that tried to get one. But a student-run club based on hobbyism and interest isn't enough. We need a full-blown operation, run by the school and fueled by a passion for the culture. Today, I will be talking about the benefits and reasons high schools should implement esports into their system. There is a problem many people face today, that being their passion for video games is not being recognized as a legitimate or worthwhile hobby. This is especially true in our high schools, and I'm speaking from personal experience and a passion for this subject. It has been far too long that students who find refuge in video games and the culture do not have the same ability as other students to do so at school for their other various hobbies and interests. As best said in the National Education Association article, the only real difference between esports and others, says Nabansny, is the lack of recognition his players receive. The lack of assembly for esports in high schools is a phenomenon. With about 90% of teens playing games, a statistic I got from a ViewSonic article, the question is, why haven't more high schools adopted their own esports team? This lack of community to feel a part of for these students is seriously impacting their development as students and eventually as members of society. Without a sense of community, they have no place to feel a sense of belonging and no place for output for characteristics such as grit and adaptability, which are essential values that colleges and employers look for in candidates. Now, just like any extracurricular in school, students must find the right balance between their chosen activity and their school career. As best said in the National Federation of State High School Associations article, just as in traditional sports, student athletes must find a balance between practice, games, schoolwork, rest, proper nutrition, social time, and of course, sleep. Without doing so, their path in life may become unhinged, and they may lose sight of important issues that they must attend to. Now, what causes this lack of organization for esports, you may ask? Firstly, schools are not fit to accommodate esports, specifically when it comes to the availability of technology on campus. The biggest hurdle that these organizations face is funding. Technology isn't cheap, and funding issues can be severe. The difficulties faced can be best described in an Uduporium article stating, for example, you'd have to determine how to secure funds, how to create a dedicated or shared space for practices and matches, and find a coach. Just like most things in life, there is usually a predisposition opinion existing. This is entirely true in the culture of esports. The world has been very against grouping esports along with other existing extracurriculars. This is due to how video games come up in society and the negative media coverage on the culture. This leads to opinions and the mindset that video games lead to violence, or as stated in a Medium.com article, the stigma of nerds playing video games are no-lifers. This is especially hard on high school students, with video games being their true passion and not being able to find a place to fit in due to the fear of being labeled a no-life or being treated a certain way. Well, what could be a possible solution to the stigma of esports? Firstly, schools can start to recognize esports as a legitimate extracurricular. This would serve to try and nullify the stigma that esports has on its players and fans. There are organizations such as the High School Esports League that accomplishes this exact mission. Their mission is to make esports available to every student as a legitimate varsity level sport in high school across the nation. They accomplish this by making it easy for faculty to offer students an opportunity to engage in healthy esports competitions, surrounded by peers and supervised by teachers. This opens up a multitude of opportunities for students, with scholarships totaling up to about $16 million according to an EdTech article, students can finally grasp a future they will see themselves enjoying. There have been multiple efforts in San Diego as well, with an esports competition being held at the Microsoft store in the Fashion Valley Mall, allowing for the first time ever for students to meet their opponents face first and compete in an actual competitive environment, giving these students the long-awaited feeling of being a real team and having legitimate extracurricular that their peers have been able to achieve in their own time. There have also been multiple esports clubs in high schools and colleges that give students a safe space to be themselves and gain a sense of belonging. This was said about one of these clubs from a San Diego Union Tribute article. This is the only place where I feel like I can be myself, and I feel free, and I feel like I can be who I am. As individuals, people can get educated on the stigma of esports and act better, and treat those who participate fairly. You could, if you never have, try some video games with an open mind. So now we've learned how implementing esports as an extracurricular will not only help students feel that they have a place to belong, but also give students a path towards life in that field. We've also learned the problem with esports not being a legitimate extracurricular, the harms of it, what causes this lack of organization, and the solution. Together, we can save this large population of lost students by giving them a community to belong to and by treating esports as a legitimate extracurricular.